Good evening, voters of Punggol and all Singaporeans. Have you been affected by the super fast rising cost of living? My colleagues and I did what we could in Parliament to stop the PAP from raising the GST when inflation was raging. After the first increase from 7% to 8%, we said to the PAP, defer the increase you had planned before COVID and before the Russia-Ukraine war. The PAP says that the whole world was facing inflation. Yes, it's true that inflation worsened as we exited COVID and galloped further ahead with the Russia-Ukraine war. But which ruling party anywhere in the world increased goods and services taxes when the winds of inflation were raging the strongest? Which government turbocharged inflation with a consumption tax hike? Nobody did except the PAP. The PAP says there will be increases in healthcare, expenditure and other costs, and revenue is needed. Yes, both a growing population and an aging population mean higher government spending. But let me ask you, could the GST increase have been postponed? Of course it could have been postponed. After COVID, there was a political window to defer raising GST and give Singaporeans some breathing space. But when the Workers' Party questioned the PAP in Parliament during the budget debate this year, the Prime Minister responded to my speech asking, how did the PAP turbocharge inflation? Doesn't he know? The Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is under the Prime Minister's office, told Parliament in 2024 that a GST hike could increase inflation by up to 40%. Isn't that turbocharging? Singaporeans have had to tighten our belts due to the worst inflation we have seen in decades. Everything is more expensive. Even these elections are more expensive. In 2020, each candidate could spend $4 per voter. Now, the elections department has increased this to $5 per voter. 25% more, not 2% more. Food prices in hawker centres have increased by just as much, if not more. Many Singaporeans rely on CPF retirement payouts because they have stopped working. These payouts do not increase with inflation, and so our seniors are hard hit. The real tragedy is the PAP had enough fiscal room to avoid making things worse for Singaporeans. For this past parliamentary term, we know that the government had a surplus of more than $14 billion. With such a surplus, will the PAP now have the courage to admit that the decision to raise the GST in 2023 and 2024 was poorly timed? There is still time for the PAP to admit to this and apologize. Polling day is on Saturday. Still got time. I said in Parliament that only the PAP can answer to Singaporeans why it raised the GST when it did. We are still waiting for a sensible answer. Because all the surpluses for this term, as per our constitution, have been locked up in the reserves and cannot be used for current spending. After the PM questioned where the turbocharging on inflation was, one of his ministers said, we can debate about the best time to have a GST hike. But my fellow Singaporeans, we do not need to debate this. A political party which claims it has the back of Singaporeans should not worsen cost of living pain by increasing GST when inflation is already raging. No government in the world will do this if it has got the back of its citizens. And to rub salt into the wound, one PAP MP in Parliament, in supporting the PAP GST hike, said that while, and I quote, we do not like any pain at all, a little pain is necessary because it is what makes us alert, it is what keeps us alive. Singaporeans are asking, why did the PAP have to inflict more pain on us? We are already in pain because of global inflation. Why must you make things worse? But even as we wait long for a satisfactory answer, we must ask a fundamental question. All of us must ask a fundamental question. How does the PAP get away with such decisions, such as increasing GST at such a bad time? The answer is simple. The political pressure that it faces from elected Workers' Party MPs is not enough for now. So you might reasonably ask, if Workers' Party MPs were not able to stop the GST increases, why elect us? Let me give you two reasons. One reason is this: the PAP cares deeply about its percentage of votes and the number of seats it wins. Vote share and seats are how PAP politicians judge each other. These are the PAP's KPIs. You as the voter can tell the PAP what you want by voting for the Workers' Party. When the PAP loses votes and seats to the Workers' Party, it has to take corrective action. It will think twice or even 3 times before further raising the GST or implementing other policies that people object to. Or at the very least, the PAP will consider the timing of their policies much more carefully. That would be an excellent outcome for Singapore. The second reason to vote the Workers' Party is this: when there are Workers' Party MPs in Parliament, we ask the questions that Singaporeans want to ask. The PAP has no choice but to try to justify its decisions and actions in Parliament. And when we offer alternative policies, we put such options into public discussion, and the PAP must respond. The Workers' Party is not naive, nor are we populist. We are a party that does its homework. We know that Singapore will have rising expenditures in healthcare and increased HDB subsidies to finance HDB's deficit. But who should determine how future spending should be funded? Not the PAP on its own. It should be Singaporeans. If you give us your vote, the Workers' Party will debate with the PAP on this and represent you faithfully. Without the Workers' Party working for Singapore in Parliament, the PAP will have a free rein to do whatever it wants. And when you give feedback that you are in pain, what will a PAP MP whose party has a supermajority in Parliament tell you? He will tell you, pain is good. It makes you feel alive. From 2020 to 2024, about $115 billion from NIRC contributions were added to our reserves. This $115 billion is the investment return from our reserves, and it includes things such as dividends from our assets. Up to 50% can be used for the yearly budget of the NIRC, but the other 50% goes back into the reserves. Following the rules in the Constitution, not a cent of this investment return that goes back into the reserves can be spent to help Singaporeans today. For comparison, about $43 billion was spent to fight COVID. The PAP said this represented 20 years worth of past budget surpluses. 20 years. But the $115 billion collected through NIRC receipts from 2020 to 2024, which went into the reserves, is close to 3 times the amount of money spent to fight COVID, which the PAP called the crisis of a generation. And the $115 billion was accumulated in just 5 years. With so much accumulated, could the PAP have postponed or even cancelled the GST increase? Yes, it could have. On the use of the reserves to fight COVID, the Workers' Party, specifically the Sengkang GRC MP, Mr. Louis Chua, asked the PAP a direct question in Parliament. And it was this. After the largest withdrawal of our reserves since independence to fight COVID, he asked, were our total reserves higher or lower than before COVID? The PAP couldn't even give a straight answer. Instead, the PAP said the reserves continue to grow. That was not the question. To the PAP, just answer the question. Now let's be clear. Saving for the future is certainly a good thing. It is prudent. But in Singapore, with more than 80% of land in government hands, Singaporeans should never be shy to ponder and ask, how much is enough for the reserves? Under what circumstances should or can we use it to look after our people? We live in a country where CPF retirement payouts are not inflation indexed, and where parents wonder if their children will be able to afford HDB flats, much less private property. We must continue to question, in good faith, whether we are overburdening the current generations, even as we look to secure Singapore for future generations. My fellow Singaporeans, there is nothing wrong with asking such questions. But I have not heard any PAP MP ask the tough questions. Nor have I heard many of them ask tough questions that directly question PAP government policy. As for DPM Gan Kim Yong, the leader of the PAP Punggol GRC team, should Punggol voters choose him and his team? Let me share a fact about Mr. Gan. In the PAP's party elections in November 2024, just last year, he was not elected into the PAP Central Executive Committee. This is very strange for a Deputy Prime Minister. Could it be that he was ready to retire and did not plan to run in these elections? If so, can he be so critical to the PM's plans? You mean the PM has no one else in his cabinet that can negotiate with the United States on tariffs? If this is true, to quote Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong, "Si liao la." Remember what happened to DPM Heng when he abandoned Tampines GRC at the last minute to contest East Coast GRC in GE 2020. He was supposed to be our next Prime Minister, all lined up, ready to take off. But then the PAP tells us, sorry, runway too short. Beside poe. DPM Heng has now retired from politics, but I am sure he will continue to contribute to Singapore. Voters of Punggol, Mr. Gan Kim Yong is older than the now retired DPM Heng. if elected, in my view, he's going to be a one-term MP. DPM Gun says he and the PM are friends. I am sorry, Punggol, but I cannot say that the Prime Minister and I are friends. But do I need to be his friend for taxpayer funding to be allocated to Punggol? No! As a Singaporean, I expect fair allocation of taxpayer resources to all our people. And the civil service will allocate funds and projects fairly. Here are just a few reasons why I say so. In my ward of Yusof in Aljunied GRC, despite being in Workers' Party's hands for the last 14 years, a polyclinic will open next year. The Eastern General Hospital is also under construction in the Yusof ward of Aljunied GRC. There are 2 MRT stations in my ward, both of which were built after 2011. The PAP has learned through the years that putting opposition wards last for upgrading and last for national projects creates a backlash against them in all constituencies in Singapore. So I have every confidence Punggol will be well served. And if not, I invite the PAP Punggol team to list for the people of Punggol which projects and which initiatives you will cancel if you lose Punggol GRC. Say so now, so we can see how much you really care for the residents of Punggol. What about in Parliament? Which candidates will make a greater difference for you? 3 of the PAP Punggol candidates are political office holders, as the leader of the WP Punggol team, Mr. Pritam Singh, has shared. 3 of them being political office holders, do you think they can question the government? They are the government. Who will ask the hard questions in Parliament if there are concerns from Punggol residents? Only the WP Punggol candidates. Now, in my party political broadcast that was televised last week, I shared that in March 2023, despite their super majority, the PAP almost could not pass an amendment to our constitution in Parliament. Lucky for them, there were Workers' Party MPs around. In our parliamentary democracy, do you know whose job it is to ensure that there are enough PAP MPs around to vote on laws proposed by the PAP government? One man has this responsibility in Parliament. It is the government whip. Do you know who that person was in March 2023? It was the PAP Punggol team's very own Janil Puthucheary. As all NS men know, you must always check strength. You must make sure no soldier is left behind. This is drummed into SAF commanders when they are NSFs. But in March 2023, Janil Puthucheary did not ensure there were enough PAP MPs around to vote for a PAP government's constitutional amendment. But lucky for him, the Workers' Party MPs were present and ready to work for Singapore. Residents of Punggol, only the opposition can challenge and push the PAP to listen harder and to explain and defend its position. And if it is clear that there is far stronger public support for the Workers' Party's position, the PAP will have to change course. We are here to make the PAP more sensitive to your needs and your concerns. A PAP MP will simply defend the PAP at all costs. In the previous term of government, one PAP MP, in order to promote skills upgrading, proposed that university degrees should expire after 5 years. How do the PAP MPs come up with such proposals? I think their super majority, the overconfidence created by having more than 90% of the seats in parliament, is the reason why. Let's just unpack this expiring degrees proposal. You mean parents are supposed to spend a bomb on their children's university education only for the degree to expire? And this is after negotiating one of the most stressful education systems in the world. Why should our degrees expire? So that the PAP can push skills upgrading through crazy ideas that don't make sense. My fellow Singaporeans, lionesses and lions of Punggol, general elections come around only once every 5 years. It is really tough for the opposition to assemble a slate as strong as the one you have before you in Pritam Singh, Alexis Tang Pei Yen, Jackson Au, and Alia Mata. Punggol team, please stand up and let our voters see you. A vote for the PAP in Punggol will not result in a more balanced political system for Singapore. The PAP does not need your vote to form the government, but your vote is really precious for the Workers' Party. We ask you to vote in Singapore's interest and help Singapore achieve a more balanced parliament where your voice is heard. Punggol GRC, your role in these elections is very significant. You see how the PAP government shifts electoral boundaries every 5 years. About 1 month before the elections, the PAP government announced that McPherson SMC, where they secured a healthy majority in the past elections, suddenly became part of Marine Parade GRC. Is this acceptable? But the terrain in Punggol is different. How much can the PAP government shift electoral boundaries here? Not as much as in Marine Parade Braddell Heights GRC. The PAP government's Electoral Boundary Review Committee cannot merge Punggol GRC into Johor. By the next elections, Marine Parade Braddell Heights can easily see its boundaries change again in the future. It can become Braddell Heights, Potong Pasir GRC, or Mountbatten SMC can be brought into Marine Parade Braddell Heights GRC. Who knows? These changes may harm the Workers' Party's chances of building a more balanced political system. So Punggol, you can send a strong message to the PAP. You can change some electoral boundaries every year, but don't mess with Punggol. Don't mess with Singaporeans. My dear voters of Punggol, if you vote the Workers' Party, you will be doing an incredible service to the nation. Service based on justice and equality. You will show the PAP the limits and futility of redrawing boundaries and announcing them just 1 or 2 months before general elections. This will hit the PAP government hard, right between the eyes. But if you vote for the Workers' Party, it will also be in line with PM Lawrence Wong's Forward Singapore vision of a new social compact with Singaporeans. One where all of us matter equally. Punggol, your mission, should you choose to accept it, will benefit not just you, but all Singaporeans who want a fair and accountable electoral boundary review process, so that we remain on track to be a society based on justice and equality. Punggol GRC, elect the Workers' Party candidates. This is not mission impossible, it is mission possible. You can do it! Vote for the Workers' Party, working for Singapore. Thank you.